Thank you. It's great to be here. Leon and I were able to team up about 10 years ago. And Leon, why don't you start and then I'll take over and then you can finish. And you're on mute. Leon, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay.
Okay. 3 years ago, I would have panicked at the question of why I couldn't unmute. Nowadays, I just curse and press buttons, and it seems to work much better. Um, all right. The question, as you say, that's been put to this session as a whole is why, if there are scientifically valid or even politically valid solutions to problems, they rarely see the light of day, or if they do, they don't flourish. And the premise of the conference appears to be that the problem here is politics, and so a title that says "Unpolitics" suggests that the solution you have in mind is to delete politics in order to be able to carry out your intention, which is to design systems that deliver results. I think Sheila and I are fully on board with the problem of how to design systems that deliver results. I'm not sure whether we agree that the way to get there is to somehow delete politics. We tend to view politics as integral parts of systems that deliver results. And if systems don't do that, the way to fix the problem includes ways to fix the politics that are inseparable from it. Now, I don't think that, one of the interesting things here is this is an international group and you're in different parts of the world. Well, there are no universally valid ways to do what you're talking about, but it's safe to say that the ongoing crisis of democracy in the United States is a universal factor in trying to come to some solution to this general issue. So I hope that you'll excuse that I am focusing on a national question, but it's a national question that has a long reach. In American democratic practice, the rule is that solutions to socially important challenges have to be politically supported if they're going to be implemented. And it's no longer clear that this rule is going to apply in the future because it's no longer clear that we are going to have a democracy in my country. So the question that Sheila and I have been pursuing now is how, in a democratic system, one can have a system that is responsive to major challenges, and yet it does so by way of public support rather than by other methods of attempting to polarize public opinion and treat the discussion of right policy as a combat. So our view is that in order to do something like this, we have to accomplish at least two things. We have to improve our systems for generating and evaluating possible solutions, and we have to improve our politics in order to be able to enlist the freely given consent of the American people for these solutions, especially since some of them require the diversion of major resources from things that people want. The first of these tasks require, in our view, that American governance become more anticipatory than it has been, and the second requires a revival of civil discourse in America, where unfortunately it has become an arena for conflict rather than a forum for deliberation.
30 seconds remaining.
Yes. So in the next few minutes, I'll be talking about anticipatory governance. Sheila, we're talking about a method of broadening consensus in public discourse. Anticipatory governance is detailed in a paper that you can access through our website. The idea is to achieve better coordination between the systems that make up decision-making in a democracy. One of the new elements in the approach includes something that people don't seem to be thinking about, and that is the necessity for a feedback system in order to be able to learn rapidly what is working and what is not, so as to be able to adjust policy on the fly rather than wait 6 years for a long delayed study to tell us what we forgot to do.
Okay. And the roundtable is comprised of people who represent the polity, the demos, the people, literally. And the inputs for the roundtable that we developed include complexity, systems, nonlinear behavior of systems, implications for policy, and multiple possible future consequences. Foresight methodologies, which included an overview of basic types and exercises, trends arising from technology, including advanced artificial intelligence, synthetic biology, climate disruption, mass social surveillance, and trends arising from demographic change, especially in the United States, which was a transition of the United States from dominant white majority to a majority of minorities. And the key themes that were discussed by participants in our roundtable included the continuing impacts of white supremacy and male dominance, and the gaps between the universal values expressed in our Bill of Rights and our Declaration of Independence, and the experiences of minorities within our population, prospects and means for eliminating these gaps and reforms of systems needed for this purpose, and the implications of technologically and demographically driven change for fundamental values from the perspective of the nation as a whole and from the perspective of minorities within that whole. And prospects for sustaining core values in the presence of very rapid, discontinuous forms of change. And our findings in the work that we did include roundtable discussions that evolved over time in the direction of expanded awareness of the difference between issues presented in isolation and issues understood as interactive with complex systems, shifting balance of views from traditional faith in common values to growing skepticism as the possibility of sustaining these values in the presence of forces from both the past and the future, consensus that if democratic values are to be preserved and advanced, impediments to effective political representation, like gerrymandering and obstacles to voting, must be eliminated as the only way to promote adaptation within a democratic system. And the reality that democracy is not a location, it's a process. And a view that the alternative to that kind of reform will be a continuation of the drift toward authoritarian forms of government. Leon, did you want to say one more sentence? Can we have one more sentence?
You can have half a sentence, Leon.
Thank you. All right. The half a sentence I want to offer is that we have repeatedly done this kind of analysis with groups of young people, juniors usually at the university level. Faculty at these places have tended to believe that this was too much for them to grasp. We have discovered that they understand quite clearly what we are talking about, and the fact that they do understand it and that it meshes with their concerns for what is happening in the present and what may happen in the future is a source of hope.